1891 Argentine Mauser. Piece missing off the bottom. Let's go talk about why that piece is missing off the bottom of certain guns and how to repair it in a way that you might stand a chance of nobody noticing you did it. Let's go. There's two things going on in every repair. We've got to repair what broke. We've also got to repair why we're having to make the repair. In this particular case, hang on a minute, I think it's something white behind this. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so now we can actually see here what broke. Two deals going on in here. The grain in the stock is running in the direction of my pencil. So you can see these grain lines here right over the top of the pencil, right? So the grain's running this way. So when this piece of wood was growing, it was growing vertically like this, right? All right. But the second thing that's going on is you have these compression lines. You'd call that curl, tiger stripe. The gem people would call it cat's eye. And my take on this is that from summer to winter to summer to winter, the amount of weight, the amount of water that's up in the tree varies. So therefore, the amount of weight pushing down on the stock varies. And these are compression lines. The tree weighs a lot more during the summer than it does during the winter. What these compression lines do is give you a chatoyancy. It's a difference in the speed at which the light goes through, and it gives it a 3D effect. So good curl. I mean, the thing looks like it's moving on us, right? But what blew the stock up is the fact that when you select wood grain for a stock, the grain needs to run parallel to the bottom. And it needs to run out up at the top, okay? We've got the stock upside down on the vise. Because this runs out like this, almost every one of these that blows out right there when the butt is grounded. So we're not going to be able to change the direction of the grain of this stock, but we are going to reinforce the back of this repair when we make it. I found I have an old, I don't throw away gun stock, so I have this gun stock here, and we can see there is actually curl in it. So we'll have to match up the direction of the grain and the direction of the stripe. So in this particular case, we're going to be, the grain's going to be going this way. Yeah, there it is right there. So we're going to cut a piece out of this old stock that's going to fill this in and then some. Black aquaglass, all these other things. This is a fairly simple repair, and if done correctly, it will look like it was done correctly. There is no way on God's green earth we're going to hide the fact that this got repaired. Not going to happen. We're just going to try to make it past the gun rack smell test. So I flipped this thing over now, mounted it up in the universal work holding system, and we can see, who cares how much finish is on this? Look at how brash this thing is. Wave. So we got grain running that way. We've got compression rings running up and down in this thing. And we got to come in here and try to fix this after years of oil incursions. So let me get a little different angle here. So there's our edge right there. That's the edge that we're going to try to hold. This edge, as it sweeps in, needs to continue into a nice even point that meets the line coming up this way. So step one's going to be to clean some of this garbage off of here. We reset this and gave you another camera angle so you can take a look. And what I want to do, it seems counterintuitive to remove wood that's already there. But good God, look at how brash that is. Yow! All right, well, I'm going to do this. You're going to see this overhead camera bounce a little bit because I got to move this light out of my way. All right, there we go. Just very, very gently. Now, what I don't want to do is try to come underneath and grab too much, because this stuff is brash and it'll explode and blow off. But what we're trying to do is get down to clean wood and get a straight line. We're really not that concerned about exactly where it winds up along the grain. This edge right here, I want to be absolutely sharp like this. See how it gets nondescript over here? Well, in the places where it's nondescript, you're going to have these big black blobs of glue sticking out. We need a sharp edge, and then all of this has to be flat, and I mean flat, and I mean you can't see light under it flat. Right now, we got a tunnel right there underneath, and we need that whole tunnel to go. This has got to be flat that way and flat that way. That's the cutting we're doing. We're square across here, nice sharp line. So this line will come up, that line will come up, carry straight through. And optimally, if we get this all done, there'll just be a very thin black line. Now it's not completely flat. Man, I'll tell you what though, it's darn close. There's a little high spot. And I'll show you how to check for that here in just a second. Let me trim this a little bit. Okay. We can get a little bit of inlet marker, which is my inletting compound. And we'll just spread a little bit of inletting compound on the back side of this. Flip it up here and rub it. So now the black spots, here, let me kill this light a little bit. There you can see it. That black spot right there, that's a high spot. We need to cut that off. So we'll cut that high spot off. Because if we don't, then our new piece will rock on it a little bit. Okay. There's a high spot right there. A little bit of black. A couple right up here at the front. Now you can see that old, there's an old walnut dowel right here. And we've cut down now to where the line's in the front of it. So this dowel will become a non-item. In fact, what we will probably do is drill that out. Drill a couple of dimples in this to give the glue a place to go in. Okay, so let's do that one more time now. We'll put a little bit more inletting compound on the back side of my chisel. Set it there. Go ahead and rub it. Bang. Now we're down to those flat spots. Again, I'll kill the light out of the way. You can really see them. All we're doing now is just cutting off the those off. We don't want to cut off anything that's not that black spot. And we want to get close. And ultimately what I'm aiming at is try to get the black spots all the way out at the edges there. Because the less glue we have showing, the less obvious this repair is going to be. All right, one more time here. There we go. You see the black. Here, let me kill the light again. The black is transferred all the way to the back there. The black's all the way around the front here. I just got to get that little ridge off, knock that off, and knock that off, and we're in the game. All right, let me wipe this off my chisel here. So we'll just peel that right there. Peel that. Knock that back. Now you don't got to get nuts with this. I'm just trying to show you the concept here. There we go. A little bit more off the edges there. Bang, we're home. Okay, we're home. Now we've got to manufacture a piece that's going to sit down on this. But if you look at this, I'm straight across the back. This distance and this arc are all the same. Everything is uniform and it's set straight down with the grain. I'm going to go figure out what we're going to do for this piece of wood we're going to cut out. We're just going to hack a part out. And if you're looking here, you can see the grain lines like I explained before. So the grain's got to line up this way, the tiger's got to line up that way, and it's got to be thick enough to go in there. I'm going back to the bandsaw, I'll cut it out, I'll be right back. So I've cut out a block here on the bandsaw. And no, I'm not flipping you guys off. What I'm trying to tell you is that up, the bottom, the top of the gun is down here, and forward is this way. This is important because as you start cutting, as you start tooling this piece of wood, you will lose what its orientation was. You will lose forward, you will lose up. So that's what I've got, forward and up. And that block is going to sit right there. Now, why did I leave it so large? Well, it's this large specifically because I want to be able to handle it. There's going to be glue oozing out of everywhere. So, one of the things we're going to do here is a little bit of prep. We're going to drill. Oh, we're going to flip the drill around, run it the right way. These aren't very deep. Okay. But I'm drilling those to give this a little bit of tooth. Now we're not drilling those holes into the block that we're going to mount. The reason why we're not drilling the holes into the block we're going to mount is because we don't know where the top of this surface is in this block. We really don't know because the glue is going to float this a little bit. We don't know where it's going to wind up fore and aft. That's also why we are not cutting the dog bone channel right now. We are not going to cut, oh wow, I made that sucker shake, didn't I? We are not going to cut the channel here for how we're going to bridge across this because we don't really know where this is going to go. So this is 2 Acraglass applications. No holes cut up inside this because we don't know where this line is inside this block. We don't know. We're going to glue it, set it there, and then optically match some of this chatoyance in here top to bottom and try to make these 2 stocks match. Sort of, and I'm swimming my eyes back and forth here looking at the different, watching it shimmer in the light. All right, so a little bit of glue here. I've already mixed up some Acraglass gel. I've already gone ahead and mixed this up, an entire tray full of this stuff. Always tint your glue black. I've said that before. Guys that have been watching this channel before understand. Always tint your glue black. Grain is black. Grain is not brown. Okay, so I'm running that in there, and we'll just get down inside this hole. All right. We'll just run that in. And what I'm doing now is making sure the glue goes, you can hear that little smack. Making sure the glue gets all the way down inside the holes here, right? So what that does, just gives it's more like dental work. It's just, get that in there. You can hear that air coming out. We could drill an air escape hole down the long axis of this thing and allow the glue to run out. This isn't that critical. We're not holding recoil with this. Okay, and we'll just let the glue, and then we're going to put on extra glue. We want squeeze out. We need squeeze out here. We want the glue to squeeze out and completely fill this joint. So when we are all done, there should just be a nice thin black line that looks like yet another stripe of grain. See that right there? There's a stripe of grain running right there. There's a stripe of grain running right there, and another one right there. And we want the next one right on the grain boundary where it broke to not look like there's a grain boundary there. Okay, same deal here. I don't know where. You could draw a line and try to cut all this down. It's way easier to come back and cut it after you're done. Now you smear the epoxy on, and by smearing this in, we're rubbing it down into the grain and getting intimate contact here. So then we'll put all of our extra in the center. Like that. And we'll just run this on. We'll set it. We got to make sure we're level because gravity really kind of sucks here. We're going to make sure that this glue joint is actually level with gravity here. And let me get a box down underneath the end of that and support that. Good. because what will happen is this will skate off. Gravity will just slowly but surely create a thrust vector and skate this thing off. So we'll just run this down on here, run it in until we get the squeeze out we want. Don't squeeze it all the way out. Don't go down hard. You actually want glue inside the joint. If you starve the joint of glue, it won't work as well. Okay, hang on now. Let me make a couple of checks. We've got a bead of glue squeezed out of this all the way around. Yeah, that's outstanding. Okay, I'm going to push this glue joint. What I'm going to do is take the light bulb out of this particular lamp and replace it with this 250 watt monster. Look at this thing. This thing's a monster, right? Incandescent light bulb. We'll hang this incandescent lamp inside of this fixture, which right now has an LED bulb in it. It's LED. We'll hang this monster in here. All right, let me just get that in there. Okay. There's going to be a lot of heat coming out of this light bulb, and I mean a lot of heat. I've just cut in front of the overhead camera. There's a lot of heat coming out of this light bulb. Now, make sure you don't use an LED bulb, or all you will do is make the problem very bright. So that angle's about the same. We'll just keep knocking all this crap off of this. I'm working this surface down, but I don't want to get too close with this thing because rasps are nasty pieces of gear to clean up after. We're just using it to rough in. We don't really care about the curvature. I'm just knocking this corner off, but you should be working in plan and profile until you get down to where it's time to cut the corners off. I've already done that. When you're doing this, be real careful about how much downward pressure you're putting on this, because it wouldn't take much to miss, run off the end of this and crash right into that finish, and I don't want to do that. So we're right back to one of the best ways to finish this thing is to not screw it up in the first place. There is an alternative way to go after this. You can attempt to chisel this stuff off, but this grain is so brash, you're on your own. Ridiculously sharp chisels help in this regard. You can peel this off this way, but if you get greedy and you go after too big a bite, that'll chip. So you have to come off in slices like this. You're not back that one up, buddy. I keep hitting it. I keep banging into it. Okay. You probably noticed Bruno moving about the shop. We've got a lot of camera angles today. I'm sure all you guys are about to build a bridge and get over it. You see how that just broke? What we want to make sure is that if that breaks, it doesn't break below the line to gain here. We got to be very careful. You've got to watch as you pop off that the corner of the chisel isn't gouging. You just got to take your time and have ridiculously sharp chisels. You can see here we're starting to cut through that black wedge that was the glue. There we go, right there. We'll just do one side here. So with all this acroglass and this block and the chip missing and the butt plate being screwed up, you can make the argument that this particular 1891 was Tango uniform. Wait a minute. Argentine. Let's tango, shall we? All right, I got it all shaped out here, and if you want to see what it's going to look like, we'll just take a little bit of water and get it wet. And when you get wood wet, it gives you a pretty good idea what it's going to look like when you stain it. So we've got the grain matching. Let me get this light out of the way here. You can even see the chatillons moving up in and out there, the grains running back and forth, and we succeeded in that little thin line. Now back in here, you're going to see some space. As I was filing this wood just started to just disintegrate back here because it had gotten wet. The butt plate had been bent. This whole thing was horked up. We'll get this, but the next thing we'll do is get up inside, dog bone this thing. Maybe, maybe not, but I think we should. And while we're in there, we'll just run a layer of acroglass around it, set the plate down in it, and neuter all that end grain, and you'll never know from 3 feet away because this gun's got other issues and nobody's going to be looking at a damn butt plate. Here's our barrier right here. So right now this is all end grain and this wants to split that way. It just, both ends of that want to come apart. So if you're looking at the Johnson app, you'll notice that I had made what I call a dog bone. And in this particular case, this is a little itty bitty one. This is a 2mm, that's a 2mm threaded fastener. And just for size comparison, this is a 632. And a 632 looks positively huge. And I don't want to try to inlet enough wood to get something this big down inside that. So I went and got an old, I used to be a model helicopter guy, and I happen to have a bunch of fasteners left over. And all this is you just thread that nut on this thing right here like this. And we're going to inlet that fastener down into the wood, acroglass, and just set it in there. And what that'll do is bring the mechanical energy around the corner here, and the fastener will soak up any impact loads. You don't have to stress it, you don't have to torque it down, it just has to be there. As you approach the end of this cut, be careful that you don't whack it too hard this way. Just blow the whole toe out. You're back into the frying pan. There we go. We'll just sand this excess off later. Leave your extra acra glass on your tray like that. Ball it up. Put the stick up in it like this. And the reason why you're doing that is if you have a malfunction, let's say you left your resin out in the garage and it froze over the winter. You want to know whether or not this stuff failed or not. So you leave the stick in it like that, and then eventually that will harden and tell you about the quality of this joint. That's just a little tattletale as you're moving forward. So the glue's dry. Well, it's not dry, it is set. It's an epoxy. You see, if you don't rub it into the end grain, it just lifts right off. We only rub it in where we want it. See, and it'll just pop right off the end like that. Don't want to get too close here, because if we bite, we blow a scab right off the top. So we'll just do this. In case you guys haven't noticed, ridiculously sharp chisels really make this go faster. All right, we're just about there. Just about there. Okay, that's us right there. So now we can see where this is our dog bone recess right here. I'll go ahead and finish up with the file and just clean that down. And then we'll talk about how the heck we're gonna get rid of the white part and blend all this up. And I've got a pretty interesting idea that you might find a little off the wall. A little bit of Vanderhae Formula 13, just something that's red. A lot of these military stains had a lot of red in them. And they look good when they're red. We'll just kind of feather this out here and get this down. I'm not trying to sand this all off. I'm not trying to do anything to it. I'm just trying to feather the repair. We just want to make it look like we were never there in the first place. And you can see that's kind of coming down pretty nice. And that'll, you know, with hand oils and a little bit of steel wool, we'll be able to buff into that. And then over the years, this will, you know, over a couple of months of range time, this will go ahead and do that. We'll just polish in a little bit here. And we'll just get that to blend. But here's the thing. Typically, these stocks have a fabulous amount of oil in them. So, if all the oil came with this stock, see it bubbling out there? Might as well use it. Of course, it helps to have calluses that are as thick as mine, but I'm just taking the oil that already soaked into the stock that they had originally finished it with. I'll just rub that down. Boy, that bad boy winds up looking pretty good. This is the point in time where I would ordinarily throw a toilet bowl ring on this. But I'm trying to get an opinion on this Flitz stuff, because I have my opinions on it, and I'm interested to hear from y'all if you've ever used it. I just want to see I've got my take on it. I'm trying to build a consensus to see whether or not I can get it to fail or not. I'm using it in the same place. I gotta tell you what, man, that waxed out pretty nice. We'll just get a nasty, scuzzy old oily rag here out of the shop. Go ahead and shoe shine this, build a little bit of heat in it. Anyway, let me know what you think about that stuff. I'd be very, very interested to know. Oh yeah, look at that. You can't tell. Well, I'd call that a successful toe chip repair. Over the next couple of months, this will all begin to darken down and it'll disappear, but we can still see that we've got our chatoyance lines up in here. Everything's running up. And it glistens. It's almost impossible on a camera to show you the cat's eye look that happens. It's almost an iridescent look. I can't believe that they would use lumber like this for a military issue weapon. Chip repair on an 1891 Argentine Mauser, which happens to be Bruno's, I might add. Time to go out in the field and enjoy this. We've done this gun a couple of times. We conserved it once. we put this handguard on with the copper wire. Another time, now it's time to do something really unusual and enjoy it for another entire generation. And it's been a pleasure, as always, to be with you guys. Thanks a lot. Just a quick update here. Guys, I'm buried. I'm really buried. A wedding, 2 funerals, a hurricane, and 10 weeks of an apprentice this year have buried me. So you'll probably notice, those of you that have jobs in here, that I'm not communicating at all, and I'm not taking in any new work right now, just until I dig out, because it's not fair to the people that already have gear in the shop. So just know that I'm working, we're turning and burning, we're going to keep the videos coming, and thanks a lot for your understanding and support, and again, I'll get this done. Thank you very much.